here to Poland. He is in his little Pope mobile, little Volkswagen for this leg of the trip. He's with his motorcade arriving at Wawel Castle here in Krakow, where he's going to meet distinguished members of the diplomatic corps, civil authorities, rectors from various universities, and other important people for the civil and political life here in Poland. He will address those present. These will be his first words, his first public words here in Poland. There was a delegation, of course, to meet the Holy Father at the airport on the tarmac when he was getting off the plane. He was greeted by Poland's president and the First Lady, Cardinal Dziwisz, of course, the Archbishop of Krakow. Some young people were chosen to come forward and welcome him as well. And there were also various representatives, authorities, bishops, and some groups of laities who were there. The national anthems were played, and the Guard of Honor of the Polish Army gave their salute. So quite a welcome for the successor of St. Peter and the successor of Pope St. John Paul II, who is, of course, a son of Poland. This is Pope Francis's first trip here, his second World Youth Day. Poland can boast a lot of papal visits. In fact, this is the 11th papal visit to take place here, almost a record, one of the most visited countries by popes, visited by 3 popes, of course, starting with St. John Paul II, and then Benedict XVI, of course, and now Pope Francis. The motorcade has arrived here at Wawel Castle. The authorities are gathered inside. There'll be various representatives in this yard here within the castle. But this is one of the most impressive monuments. If you're following this on television, you can catch a glimpse of Wawel Castle. A great example, of course, of Renaissance architecture. It was the royal residence of the first Polish kings. Before we get started and before we hear Pope Francis's remarks, we'd like to thank you from wherever you're joining up with us today for this commentary. We'd like to thank in a special way Radio Maria in the Philippines, Catholic TV, Telecare TV, CBS News, Shalom World TV, Salt and Light Television, EWTN, Radio Maria, and Net TV. So from wherever you're joining us today, we're so glad you could be with us. Stay with us now as the Pope will greet the diplomatic corps and various civil authorities here in Poland. Then he's going to make his way to the cathedral, where we have a meeting with the bishops of Poland. We will hear from Cardinal Dziwisz, who will give an official welcome to Pope Francis when he gets to the cathedral. But instead of it being a public meeting with the bishops, with the cameras and photographers in there, Pope Francis said, let's just have a meeting, just us brother bishops, because he very much sees himself, of course, being the bishop of Rome, as a brother with his bishops. And so they're going to have a closed door meeting, and so they'll be able to talk and really converse without worrying about the media being present, and rightly so. But do stay with us as we will accompany Pope Francis from this castle, Wawel Castle, to the cathedral, and we will hear Cardinal Dziwisz welcome Pope Francis, and then we'll see them go in to the meeting there. We're getting our first images of Pope Francis in a Pope mobile that was created in Poland for the occasion. We see a little bit of a soggy Krakow. It's been raining intermittently, so hopefully the pilgrims are staying dry. Hopefully they'll continue this break in the rain as Pope Francis makes his way through the streets of Krakow on his way to Wawel Castle. You can see the thousands of pilgrims lining the streets. Even last evening for the opening Mass, the inaugural Mass with Cardinal Dziwisz in Bologna Park, there were 200,000 plus, and we put the emphasis on plus because those are the official numbers given us by the local authorities, and local numbers tend to be, official numbers tend to be kept low, so as to be accurate, of course. But people on the ground assure me that it seemed like a lot more, a lot of enthusiasm as Pope Francis makes his first trip here to Poland. The young people have been preparing for months, and they have come from all over the world to be here. And they come because the Pope invites them. Every 3 years we have these World Youth Days. This is our 31st, the second for Pope Francis. World Youth Days, which were begun by John Paul II. He saw the great need. He saw the great gift that young people are for the church. And he also saw the great need that they need to be catechized and shepherded by the church during these somewhat difficult times. So a very wonderful apostolate on behalf of the church for young people all over the world. You can see pilgrims, curious bystanders, onlookers lining the streets. Everyone, of course, with their cameras and smartphones trying to get a picture of the Pope. It's not every day that a Pope comes to your city, of course. Pope landed this afternoon, just about an hour ago. And this is his motorcade now making the way to Wawel Castle, where he's going to meet with the Polish authorities and the diplomatic corps on Wawel Hill, which literally is a hill here in Krakow that just means a dry place. So it was over kind of a swampy area, and being a higher and drier area, they decided would be suitable to build a castle. And of course the cathedral is there as well. A lot of great rich history. Cardinal Dziwisz, mentioning last evening, encouraged the young people who have come, and they're expecting up to even 1.5 million by the close of this event on Sunday for the Mass. He encouraged them all to go into all the churches that are here. You can't believe how many churches are in Krakow and all around Poland, each one with a beautiful story, with such rich history. It's in every corner and every stone of this country. You can see many of the flags, and you see the Polish flag, of course, but flags from all over the world. We see several there from Africa, some from South America, Europe, of course, and Spain. It really is a moment for the Universal Church, to see the face of the Universal Church. And what a great opportunity for these young people to meet each other. And of course, they're all connecting through social media. The organizers for World Youth Day wanted to make sure that this was also a very social, media conscious event, and creating hashtags. So if you'd like to participate in that, the hashtags are Krakow 2016 with a K, Krakow 2016, and another hashtag is simply WYD, World Youth Day. And if you go online to Twitter or Facebook, you can see what everyone else is posting. A lot of people there on the ground, of course, publishing their pictures and videos, and you can kind of live it with them if you're not able to be there yourself. And we have to also remember that there are events going on all over the world for kids who can't be here for whatever reason. We know there's an event in Cuba for the Catholic youth who aren't able to be here. Some in the United States. Pope Francis sending a message to young people in Brownsville, Texas. He sent a video message to them, in Spanish, because it's right there on the border. And so he's very aware of young people who were not able to make it. This morning in St. Peter's Basilica, he met with a group of young children who are here in Rome, but they have cancer, and they were unable to make it to World Youth Day. And they gathered at St. John Paul II's tomb in St. Peter's Basilica. So the Pope making them feel that they're very much involved with World Youth Day, because it is World Youth Day. It is happening here. It's happening in Poland, but it's for everyone around the world. And that's why, thanks to TV and radio and social media, the Vatican is wanting to get this out to as many people as can follow along, because we all need to hear the message that the Pope is here to give, the message of Christ and of his church. Pope Francis getting closer now to Wawel Castle. As we were mentioning, it is the It was chosen as the royal residence by the first Polish kings. You may recognize some of the names: Boleslaw the Brave, Mieszko II. And it's been the seat of kings until the capital was moved to Warsaw back in 1596. It's unfathomable for those of us from younger countries, let's say, to fathom the capital of a country being moved, and that's sort of a new event, and that happened in 1596. Now it is a museum, of course. During World War II, it's interesting to note that the Germans have it as their headquarters. But today it is a museum, and it has a rich collection of tapestries and paintings. And the young people have been able to visit it since they've been here. So after the Pope will address all of the authorities and the diplomatic corps who are gathered here and Wawel Hill, he will then have a courtesy visit with the President of Poland, and that will take place in private in what is known as the Bird's Room here on the second floor of the castle. And they'll go later into the adjacent room, and the President will take a moment to introduce his family to the Holy Father, and they will exchange gifts. The Holy Father, on these official visits, always brings a gift for the President of that country, and they also reciprocate with a gift for the Pope. And while the Holy Father is meeting with the President, the Holy See's Secretary of State, Cardinal Parolin, will meet with the Prime Minister of Poland, Beata Szydło, together with the Apostolic Nuncio and some other representatives from the Polish government. So the official meetings here right up front at the beginning of this visit. The Holy Father will be staying in the Archbishop's residence here in Krakow. And if you know a little bit about the history of that building, you know how special it is for Pope Francis to be staying there, as all popes have done since Pope John Paul II. Pope John Paul II, in the Archbishop's residence, that's where he carried out his clandestine seminary years, because it had to be done underground. So he studied for the seminary there, and not only the Archbishop's residence, which you will see later on, he was also ordained a priest there in the chapel, still quietly and hidden. So that's where Pope John Paul II became a priest. And then he later lived there, of course, as the Archbishop of Krakow. And so that's where Pope Francis will be staying. And as is tradition, he'll come to the window each evening to greet various groups of people who will be gathered there below, because this is a tradition started by Pope John Paul II. Meetings that happened spontaneously back in the day, and now they're organized as a wonderful tradition. Pope Francis's motorcade now arriving here at Wawel Castle, and pilgrims have lined his entire route from the airport here. What a beautiful witness. We're getting a better view of the castle. You see the cathedral, a beautiful complex. This is what you see now is what it looked back even from the first half of the 16th century. And the church bells are ringing out to welcome the successor of Peter, Pope Francis, here to Poland for World Youth Day. And there we see the Pope Mobile will be making its way around the corner here. And here's Pope Francis now making his way to Wawel Castle. In a Pope mobile made just for this trip there in Poland. He didn't bring it with him from Rome. And the license plate wherever the Holy Father is traveling is always SCB1. Stato Città Vaticano, Vatican City State, of course, in Italian, and number 1 for Pope Francis. Pope Francis also met with a group of young refugees who are in Italy and don't have their papers to travel internationally. Again, another group of children, that young kids that he reached out to before coming here for World Youth Day. He did that just before he left for the airport. He met with them at the St. Martha residence where he lives in the Vatican. A group of 15 refugees from various countries who are unable to travel, and he wanted them to know that they were also part of World Youth Day. Wherever young people are through the world, they are a part of these celebrations, and they are in his heart. We see the President of Poland there, Andrzej Duda, along with the First Lady, to welcome Pope Francis. He's been the President of Poland since 2015. Behind the Polish President, Pope Francis, and the First Lady, we see Cardinal Dziwisz, the Archbishop of Krakow and longtime friend and aide to St. John Paul II. We see the Polish flags and the flags of Vatican City. After arriving on the podium, we'll hear the national anthems for Poland and Vatican City. And then we hear speeches delivered by the President and the Holy Father. There are about 800 people gathered in this courtyard, representatives of the government, parliament, diplomatic corps, the episcopate, and rectors of the various universities here in Krakow.
Wasza świątobliwość, umiłowany Ojcze Święty, szanowni przedstawiciele władz
Your
Rzeczypospolitej
Holiness,
Polskiej, władz państwowych i samorządowych na czele z panami marszałkami i panią premier,
representatives of the authorities, civil authorities,
eminencje, księża kardynałowie, ekscelencje, księża biskupi,
eminence,
szanowni przedstawiciele wyższych uczelni, magnificencje rektorzy,
representatives of various universities,
profesorowie, szanowne osoby duchowne, księża, zakonnicy, droga
reverend
młodzieży,
fathers, religious
dostojni i czcigodni goście, przedstawiciele korpusu dyplomatycznego, wszyscy
representatives
państwo,
of the diplomatic corps,
ale przede wszystkim Wasza świątobliwość. Jest to dla mnie niezwykły zaszczyt i radość, że mogę przywitać
this for me
Ojca
is a great honor.
w imieniu Rzeczypospolitej
Welcome.
Polskiej, w imieniu wszystkich moich
In the name of the Polish
w
Republic,
imieniu gości,
in the name of all my fellow
naszej
countrymen,
młodzieży,
in the name of all the
przybyła tutaj na
guests
spotkanie,
gathered here, in the name of all the young people,
że mogę
the young
przywitać
people
na polskiej ziemi,
who have come
że
to meet
mogę
with the Holy Father,
przywitać w Krakowie, że mogę przywitać
that I can welcome you here
tej
to Krakow,
wspaniałej,
to Poland,
niebywałej uczcie duchowej, święcie wielkiej radości,
that I can welcome you
jaką
to this
są
great
światowe
spiritual banquet
Dni Młodzieży.
represented
To dla nas,
by the World
Polaków,
Youth Days.
niezwykłe.
For us, the people of Poland, this is
Wydarzenie
an
radości,
unusual event and
wydarzenie
an
serca, ale przede
important
wszystkim wydarzenie
event.
ducha. Odbywa się
It's a joyous event, event of the heart. It's a spiritual
mieście
event.
świętego
That it's
Jana Pawła
important that it's
II,
taking place here in this
Karola
city,
Wojtyły,
the city of Saint John Paul II,
historycznej
Krakow,
stolicy Polski, w Krakowie,
in the historic capital of Poland.
był miastem polskich królów, w Krakowie, na Wawelu.
Krakow, which has been the city
Tylu tych królów, bohaterów naszego narodu, wielkich Polaków, wielkich przywódców
which has been the city,
znalazło miejsce
the heart of Poland,
wiecznego spoczynku. Przy
the
katedrze wawelskiej na Zamku Królewskim, w miejscu, które dla Polaków
and the kings of Poland, many who have found their final rest in the Cathedral of Poland. This place for the Polish people is very symbolic,
odrodzenia naszego narodu i jego siły,
a place
od
that witnesses
1050 lat
to the
płynie dla nas
rebirth
wiary chrześcijańskiej.
of the state of
Od
Poland.
1050 lat od chrztu Polski, od kiedy liczymy
For
naszą
1500,
i od
for
kiedy
1050 years from the baptism of Poland,
naszego
this place is also
ogromnie
a
Ojcze Święty,
font,
że to
a
wielkie
source
spotkanie
of the
młodzieży
faith
odbywa się
here.
w mieście wielkiego Polaka, jakim był Jan Paweł II.
I am
Nasz Ojciec
truly happy that this World Youth Day
z tego miasta
is taking place here
poszedł na stolicę
in the
Piotrowa,
city of the great
po to, by służyć nie
Polish
tylko Krakowowi,
man,
jak
John Paul II, who from this city went to Rome
kardynał,
to serve
ale by służyć jako
not only the Church of Poland,
duchowy
but
całemu światu. Że
to serve as a spiritual leader
50-lecia chrztu Polski. Tu w
the entire
Krakowie
universal
odbywają się
church.
Światowe Dni Młodzieży, którego
Now,
tradycję on zapoczątkował.
this
Spotkanie,
World Youth
które
Day that
łączy młodych ludzi z
Pope
całego świata.
John Paul II
Niezależnie od ich pochodzenia,
began,
niezależnie od języka, w jakim
the fact that it's
mówią,
taking here is very important.
we wspólnej
This
wierze,
meeting
łączy ich w radości, łączy ich
unites
nawet w najtrudniejszych momentach,
everyone in
pozwala zawierać
the
przyjaźnie,
one faith despite their differences in language or nationality, or the various places from which they come, the various contexts. This event helps us to find love, the strength of faith, helps us to pray together. Your presence here is most important for them. You are a spiritual support, strength for them. You, for them, represent love and hope, the love and hope that come from Christian faith. The world of today needs that a great deal. Pope John Paul II, when he came for the first time to Warsaw, said very important words. He said, he asked for the Holy Spirit to descend and renew the face of the earth, of this land. And this is important. Then Poland experienced a great political renewal after that. The authorities of communism that left power at that time, they were hostile to the faith, and they persecuted the church and the priests. But watching what's happening now, today, one would want to ask the Holy Spirit yet again to come and renew the face of the earth, not just of Poland, but of the whole world. The young people of today in all the world, and those of us here in Poland, we are very happy that you're here among us. And we are anxious to hear your words. Welcome. As President Duda, President of Poland, now we'll hear from Pope Francis, his first public words here and his first trip to Poland. Pope Francis at the podium, taking a quick sip of water after his long journey. Mr. President, honorable authorities, distinguished members of the diplomatic corps, university rectors, ladies and gentlemen.
Saluto con deferenza il signor Presidente. Lo ringrazio per la generosa accoglienza.
I offer a respectful greeting to His Excellency the President, and I thank him for his gracious welcome and kind words. I am pleased to greet the distinguished members of government and parliament, the university rectors, the regional and municipal authorities, as well as members of the diplomatic corps and the other authorities present. This is my first visit to Central Eastern Europe, and I am happy to begin that with Poland, that counts among its sons and daughters the unforgettable Saint John Paul II, originator and promoter of the World Youth Days. Pope John Paul liked to speak of a Europe that breathes with two lungs. The ideal of a new European humanism is inspired by the creative and coordinated breathing of these two lungs, together with the shared civilization that has its deepest roots in Christianity.
Contraddistingue il popolo polacco. Mi ha sempre impressionato.
Memory is the hallmark of the Polish people. I was always impressed by Pope John Paul's vivid sense of history. When he spoke about a people, he started from its history in order to bring out its wealth of humanity and spirituality. A consciousness of one's own identity, free from any pretensions to superiority, is indispensable for establishing a national community on the foundation of its human, social, political, economic, and religious heritage. And thus inspiring social life and culture in a spirit of constant fidelity to tradition, and at the same time, openness to renewal and the future. In this sense, you recently celebrated the 1050th anniversary of the baptism of Poland. That was indeed a powerful moment of national unity, which reaffirmed that harmony, even amid a diversity of opinions, is the sure path to achieving the common good of the entire Polish people.
Anche la proficua cooperazione nell'ambito internazionale e la reciproca considerazione maturano mediante la coscienza.
Similarly, fruitful cooperation in the international sphere and mutual esteem grow through awareness of and respect for one's own identity and that of others. Dialogue cannot exist unless each party starts out from its own identity. In the daily life of each individual and society, there are, though, two kinds of memory, good and bad, positive and negative.
Il cantico di Maria che loda il Signore e la sua opera di salvezza.
Good memory is what the Bible shows us in the Magnificat, the canticle of Mary, who praises the Lord and his saving works. Negative memory, on the other hand, keeps the heart and mind obsessively fixed on evil, especially the wrongs committed by others. Looking at your recent history, I thank God that you have been able to let good memory have the upper hand. For example, celebrating the 50th anniversary of the forgiveness mutually offered and accepted between the Polish and German episcopates following the Second World War. That initiative, which initially involved the ecclesial communities, also sparked an irreversible social, political, cultural, and religious process that changed the history of relationships between the two peoples. Here, too, we can think of the joint declaration between the Catholic Church in Poland and the Orthodox Church of Moscow, an act that inaugurated a process of rapprochement and fraternity, not only between the two churches, but also between the two peoples.
La nobile nazione polacca mostra come si può far crescere la memoria buona e lasciar cadere quella cattiva.
The noble Polish nation has thus shown how one can nurture good memory while leaving the bad behind. This requires a solid hope and trust in the one who guides the destinies of peoples, opens closed doors, turns problems into opportunities, and creates new scenarios from situations that appeared hopeless. This is evident from Poland's own historical experience.
Dopo le tempeste e le oscurità, il vostro popolo ristabilito nella sua dignità.
After the storms and dark times, your people, having regained its dignity, could say, like the Jews returning from Babylon, "We were like those in a dream. Our mouth was filled with laughter, and our tongues with shouts of joy.
La consapevolezza del cammino compiuto e la gioia per i traguardi raggiunti
An
danno
awareness of the
forza
progress
e
made and
serenità
joy at
per
goals achieved
affrontare le
become
sfide
in
del
turn a
momento,
source of strength and
che
serenity
richiedono il
for
coraggio della
facing present
verità
challenges.
e un costante impegno etico affinché i processi decisionali e operativi, come pure le relazioni umane,
These call for the
siano
courage of
sempre
truth and constant
rispettosi della
ethical
dignità della
commitment
persona.
to ensure that decisions and actions,
Ogni
as well as human
attività
relationships,
ne è
will always be
congruente.
respectful of the
Anche
dignity of the
l'economia,
person.
il rapporto con
In this,
l'ambiente
every
e il
sphere
modo
of
stesso
action
di
is involved,
gestire il
including the
complesso
economy,
fenomeno migratorio.
environmental concerns, and the handling of the complex
Quest'ultimo
phenomenon of
richiede un
migration.
supplemento di saggezza e di
This
misericordia
last area
per
calls for
superare le
great wisdom
paure
and
e
compassion
realizzare il maggior
in
bene.
order to overcome fear and to
Occorre
achieve the greater
individuare le
good.
cause dell'emigrazione dalla Polonia,
There is a need to seek out the
facilitando
reasons for
quanti vogliono
immigration from
ritornare.
Poland and to
Al tempo
facilitate the
stesso,
return of all
occorre
those
la
wishing to
disponibilità
repatriate.
ad accogliere quanti fuggono dalle
Also needed is a
guerre
spirit of
e dalla
readiness to
fame,
welcome those
la
fleeing from wars and
solidarietà
hunger,
verso coloro che sono privati
and
dei loro
solidarity with those
fondamentali
deprived
diritti,
of their fundamental
tra i
rights,
quali quello di
including
professare in libertà e
the right
sicurezza
to profess
la
one's
propria
faith
fede.
in freedom and safety.
Nello stesso tempo vanno sollecitate collaborazione e sinergie a livello internazionale
At the same
al fine
time,
di trovare
new
soluzioni
forms
ai
of exchange and
conflitti e alle
cooperation need to be
guerre
developed on the
che
international level in
costringono
order to
tante
resolve the
persone
conflicts and
a
wars
lasciare le loro
that
case
force
e
so
la
many
loro
people
patria.
to leave their homes and their
Si
native
tratta così
lands.
di fare il possibile per alleviare le loro sofferenze,
This means doing
senza
everything
stancarsi di
possible to
operare
alleviate
con
the suffering
intelligenza e
while
continuità
tirelessly working with
per la
wisdom and
giustizia e la
constancy
pace,
for justice and peace,
testimoniando nei fatti i valori umani
bearing
e
witness in
cristiani.
practice to human and Christian values.
Alla luce della sua millenaria storia, invito la nazione polacca a guardare con
In
speranza
light of its
al futuro
thousand-year history,
e alle
I invite
questioni
the
che deve
Polish nation
affrontare.
to look with hope to the
Tale
future
atteggiamento
and the
favorisce
issues
un
before it.
clima di rispetto tra tutte le componenti della società
Such an
e un
approach will
confronto
favor a climate of
costruttivo tra
respect
le
between
diverse
all elements of
posizioni.
society and constructive
Inoltre, crea
debate
le condizioni
on
migliori per
differing
una crescita
positions.
civile,
It will
economica e
also
persino
create the
demografica,
best conditions for civil, economic,
alimentando la
and even
fiducia di
demographic growth,
offrire una vita buona a
fostering the
tutti
hope
i
of
figli.
providing a good life for coming
Essi
generations.
infatti non dovranno soltanto affrontare problemi,
Young
ma
people should not
godranno di
simply have to
bellezze
deal with
reali,
problems, but
il
rather
bene che sapremo compiere
be able
con
to
fede,
enjoy the
la
beauty of
speranza che
creation,
sapremo donare
the
loro,
benefits we can
le
provide, and
stesse
the hope
politiche
we can
sociali
offer,
a favore della famiglia, che
social
primo e
policies in support
fondamentale
of the
nucleo della
family,
società, per sovvenire quelle più deboli
the
e
family, the
povere
primary
e
and
sostenerle
fundamental cell of society,
nell'accoglienza responsabile della vita.
assisting underprivileged
Saranno in
and poor
questo modo
families,
ancora più efficaci.
and helping responsibly to welcome life,
La vita
which thus prove even more
va
will
sempre
thus prove even
accolta
more
e
effective.
tutelata,
Life must always be welcomed
entrambe le
and
cose
protected.
insieme,
These two
accolta
things go
e
together,
tutelata, dal
welcome
concepimento alla
and
morte
protection,
naturale. E
from
tutti siamo
conception to
chiamati a
natural death.
rispettarla
All of us are called
e
to
ad
respect
averne
life
cura.
and care for it.
D'altra parte, allo Stato, alla Chiesa e alla società compete di accompagnare
On
e
the other
aiutare
hand, it is
concretamente
the responsibility
chiunque
of the
si trova in
state, the
situazioni
church, and
gravi di
society
difficoltà,
to
affinché un
accompany
figlio
and
non
concretely help
venga mai
all those
sentito come un
who find
peso,
themselves in serious
ma come
difficulty,
un
so that a
dono.
child will never
E
be
le
seen as a
persone più
burden but as a
fragili e
gift,
povere
and those who are
non
most
siano
vulnerable and poor
abbandonate.
will not be abandoned.
Signor Presidente,
Mr. President,
la nazione polacca può contare come è stato in tutto il suo lungo percorso storico,
as throughout its
la
long history,
collaborazione della Chiesa Cattolica,
Poland can count on the
perché
cooperation
alla
of the
luce
Catholic
dei
Church,
principi cristiani che
so
la
that
ispirano
in light of
e
the
che hanno
foundational
forgiato
Christian
la
principles
storia
that
e
forged
l'identità della
Poland's
Polonia,
history
sappia
and
che nelle
identity,
mutate condizioni storiche
the
progredire
nation
nel
may,
suo cammino fedele
in
alle
changed
sue
historical
migliori
conditions, move
tradizioni
forward
e
in
ricorda di
fidelity
fiducia e di speranza anche nei
in
momenti
to its
difficili.
finest traditions and with trust and hope,
Nel
even in
rinnovare
times of difficulty,
l'espressione della mia gratitudine
in expressing once again
auguro a
my
lei
gratitude.
e a ciascuno dei presenti
I offer good
un
wishes to
sereno
you and all
e
present
proficuo
for a
servizio
serene and fruitful
al bene
service
comune.
to the common good.
La Madonna di Cesareo
May Our Lady of Czestochowa
benedica e protegga la Polonia.
bless and protect Poland. Pope Francis will now greet some of the authorities present here in the courtyard of the great Wawel Royal Castle. The President of Poland, Andrzej Duda, officially greeting him, welcoming him to the country at the beginning of this World Youth Day. And Pope Francis speaking his first words, giving his first public address. We see the Prime Minister there as well, Beata Szydło, the third female Prime Minister of Poland. We see the military, of course, representative, and the other 800 or so guests representing the government, state authorities, parliament, diplomats, of course, and many representatives here of the episcopate and rectors from the universities which are based here in Krakow. The Holy Father will greet many of those present. After this, he's going to have a courtesy visit with the President of Poland, and which they will meet privately. The Holy Father now receiving some beautiful artwork from a young Polish girl here for the event. Alicia, who made a special drawing for Pope Francis. Alicia getting to present her artwork to Pope Francis. Pope Francis, along with President Duda, are heading now up to the second floor here in Wawel Castle, to what is known as the Bird's Room. They will meet privately. Afterwards, they will go to an adjacent room where the President will introduce the Holy Father to his family, and there will be an exchange of gifts. After that meeting, the Holy Father will travel to the cathedral here in Wawel, very, very nearby, and he will be greeted by Cardinal Dziwisz in the cathedral. He will venerate the relics there, the relics of Saint Stanislaus and John Paul II. They're going to pray before the Blessed Sacrament, and he will meet privately with the Polish bishops there. Many of the authorities making their way up the stairs as we enjoy some of the pageantry still here in the courtyard. Well, Pope Francis has landed for this 31st World Youth Day. The Holy Father is in Krakow. World Youth Day continues. Stay with us as we come back to you in a little while with our broadcast. And the Holy Father heads to the Wawel Cathedral, which you see there in the distance, and he will meet with the Polish bishops there. We will see the greeting by Cardinal Dziwisz at the beginning of that meeting, but then they go behind closed doors to talk as brothers. And so we will wait to hear what Pope Francis had to say after that meeting. And then after meeting with the bishops around 7:30 p.m. Local time here in Poland, he will go to the Archbishop's residence for private dinner. And then he will come to the window of the Archbishop's residence where he will greet groups below. And that's something to watch for every evening. It's beautiful. You might be able to see that online or wherever you're following this ceremony today. And he will meet with greet the young people there below. A tradition started by John Paul II, who during his first trip there came to the window spontaneously as people were gathered underneath singing and chanting and shouting. And we see Pope Francis now in the Bird's Room here in the Wawel Castle. President and the Holy Father posing for official photos, the Vatican flag and the flag of Poland. Pope Francis's first trip here to Poland, the 11th visit to Poland by a pope, 3 popes in all. John Paul II, Benedict XVI, and now Pope Francis. We see the translators present. We'll see what language the two may converse in. Pope speaking in Italian. And now begins the private part of their meeting. They say they will meet privately. During that time, the Vatican Secretary of State will be meeting with his counterpart here in Poland, and then we'll head to Wawel Cathedral as we continue on with our coverage of this 31st World Youth Day, when Pope Francis will meet with the bishops there. So stay tuned for much more of World Youth Day. For now, Laudetur Jesus Christus. This is Mary Shublin. We'll be back with you in a while.
Dobra, już koniec. Już dziękujemy.
Ten, który jest z boku jego, to jest Włoch. Nie patrzy na papieża, tu patrzy. Na papieża trzeba naprawdę. No, tu wiem, że zrobiłeś już co mogłeś. Wszyscy o tym wiedzą. Ale to dlatego wygląda. Co? Zawsze jej wypada i to wszystkiego. Do człowieka, to jest cały nasz.